Warning: the following video contains explicit language, which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready? Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Boy, you know, today we're getting a damn blizzard out here, as you probably saw there at the opening seconds here of the video. Smokey's sitting in the window looking out at the goddamn snow coming down. We're supposed to get 3 inches here, but boy, it's coming down like it's never come down before. And it really hasn't. You know, this winter has been really few storms. I mean, we've had some snow, but not, you know, to the intensity that this has been. But this is what, the second day of spring, and we're getting snow. Christ, it's an, oh, geez, you know, it was raining actually all day. And about 2 hours ago, it turned into snow, and it's still coming down pretty damn hard. So, I don't know. But they say tomorrow's supposed to be sunny, you know, so it probably won't last. You know, it'll, because it's kind of a wet snow, but it'll melt quick. It's just the idea. You know, Groundhog was right. Winter's going to be longer for us this year. So, this morning, you know, Donald Trump there had a rather nasty fucking interview, a presser they call it. And yeah, they're asking him some things. He said a lot of stuff there that people didn't like to hear, and I have a video here on that particular thing here. Ben Meiselas is he's got a lot to say about it, so why don't we go to that here, and then we'll discuss it on the other side. So let's go to the video.
Really bizarre and unhinged morning for Donald Trump, but what else is new with this Trump regime? Donald Trump held a press conference in the Oval Office where he and his Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, a former Fox News host, announced that they were going to be having a successor to the F-35 jet, which they were going to call, surprise, surprise, the F-47. So as they're gutting Medicaid, as they're calling Social Security a Ponzi scheme, they say they're putting a lot of money into an F-47. But then Donald Trump started talking about his favorite topic, which is conquering Canada. He talked about how it was an artificial line that separates the United States and Canada, and he wants it, and he wants to take it now. Play this clip.
Very, very close.
No, there might be, but it would, you know, you have that artificial line that goes, that straight artificial, that looked like it was drawn by a ruler. Somebody with I don't mean a ruler like a king, I mean like a ruler, this way. And it's just an artificial line that was drawn in the sand or in the ice. You know, and can I tell you, Peter, just you add that to this country, what a beautiful landmass, the most beautiful landmass anywhere in the world. And it was just cut off for whatever reason. It would be great. Now,
Donald Trump continues and says, look, no, I really mean it. I want Canada to become a state. I'm not joking. I want to take it over. Play this clip.
Nobody knows that. Nobody knows that. They have up to 400%. They have a couple of tariffs at 400%. Nobody knows that. Nobody talks about that. And remember, with Canada, we don't need their cars. We don't need their lumber. We don't need their energy. We don't need anything from Canada. And yet it costs us $200 billion a year in subsidy to keep Canada afloat. So when I say they should be a state, I mean that. I really mean that. Because we can't be expected to carry a country that is right next to us on our border. It would be a great state. It would be a cherished state.
Look, he couldn't be more clear about what he's saying. And as I've reported before, Canada's responding in kind. They are boycotting America. They are boycotting tourism, boycotting American products, and they are now doing military deals with Australia and Europe to start building up its defenses against the United States. I mean, it's a horrifying thing that I even have to say that, but that's what the Trump regime has done to the United States. Also, bizarrely, Donald Trump posted this morning. He goes, "I love King Charles. This sounds good to me." This is a real post from Donald Trump. This isn't AI. And he's posting an article from The Sun, which says King Charles makes secret offer to Donald Trump. And the secret offer is to make the United States of America part of the Commonwealth and to make King Charles the King of the United States. I mean, I don't think this is even a real article in terms of, I'm not sure the veracity of the claim that that's actually the secret offer, but Donald Trump says he loves this idea. So I guess make America first, or make America great means make America a monarchy again. Hey, Donald Trump always loves kings. And I guess that's what I don't know. How bizarre is that? That's what he's posting this morning. Then Donald Trump is asked, Russia continues to attack Ukraine. You claim that there was going to be a ceasefire over energy infrastructure. That's not happening. Putin's not doing anything that you said he was going to do. And so what's your response to that? And of course, Donald Trump's like, no, there's a ceasefire. He goes, there's a ceasefire over a lot of areas. Here, play this clip.
Russia continues to attack Ukraine. Are you planning to impose any sort of
sanctions? Well, they're fighting against each other. I think we're going to have a ceasefire on a lot of areas, and so far that's all held very well. And
Donald, the people living in Odessa and other cities throughout Ukraine would disagree. You're being played by Putin, but you know that you are Putin's puppet. You are Putin's pawn. And it's just so obvious. Donald Trump is then asked about whether or not he's extorting law firms and basically attacking law firms in executive orders like Paul Weiss, and then making them do deals to give him free legal services or pro bono services. And Donald Trump says law firms like to make deals. So yeah, they want to do deals. Play this clip.
Up the lands, et cetera, et cetera. It's being negotiated as we speak.
What do you say to critics who say that your actions towards law firms amount to coercion?
Well, the law firms all want to make deals.
By the way, shame on Paul Weiss, that horrific law firm, and any associate or partner who works at this law firm. And I know a lot of people there may be watching this, or people who work at Big Law watch this. I used to be a lawyer at a boutique law firm. I used to do cases, though, a lot with big law people. I went to Georgetown Law. I have a lot of people in my class who work at Big Law. The conduct by Paul Weiss, in my view, is absolutely pathetic, and it is embarrassing that they made a deal with Donald Trump because he put them in an executive order where they attack their own partner who worked for them, and then said they would do $40 million of pro bono legal services. Shame on Paul Weiss. I had to say that. What a despicable law firm, and anybody who works there shares that shame right now. Here, Donald Trump is asked about deporting people who tamper with Teslas to El Salvador. And Donald Trump says, I view you, if you do anything to Teslas, he goes, I view you as a terrorist. And yeah, maybe play this clip.
You said this morning, 20 years in jail, and then maybe they'll go to one of these prisons in El Salvador. Do you think with the way that the judges have been issuing injunctions, it would be easier or harder to send these Tesla domestic terrorists to a jail in El Salvador than these MS-13 or Tren de Arrival guys?
Well, I view these people as terrorists just like others. When I looked at those showrooms burning and those cars, not one or two, like 7, 8, 10 burning, exploding all over the place. These are terrorists. You didn't have that on January 6th, I can tell you. You didn't have anything like that on January 6th, which is sort of amazing because on January 6th, the Democrats were talking. Nobody was killed other than a Very beautiful young woman, Ashley.
By the way, Donald Trump also was making posts earlier in the day and last night saying that if he goes, I look forward to watching these sick terrorist thugs get 20-year jail sentences for what they are doing to Elon Musk and Tesla. Perhaps they could serve them in the prisons of El Salvador, which have become so recently famous for such lovely conditions. The Trump regime is now making ISIS-style videos where they're taking people who they call gang members because they fit the Trump regime's view of what a gang member is and throwing them into concentration camps in El Salvador. We've heard stories, for example, a professional soccer player who fled the Maduro regime as political exiles, asylum seekers who were here, who was here lawfully. He had a Real Madrid tattoo, and he had given a hand signal that meant peace and love. And the Trump regime took him from his family, sent him into a concentration camp in El Salvador, and who knows if he's even alive anymore or what's happened to him. That is the state of the United States of America right now under the Trump regime. No wonder people like Charlie Angus in Canada and in the UK and Germany and elsewhere are issuing travel advisories for their citizens. Be careful if you go into the US, or we recommend you don't go to the US. You may end up in concentration camps in El Salvador. J.D. Vance was in the room during this bizarre press conference, and he was asked what his thoughts were. And JD goes, ooh, planes, pretty cool. I like planes. Here, play this clip.
That's the other thing. Energy is going to be like it's never been before. Mr. Vice President is here. Do you have anything to say while you're here? You're a very good Vice President.
I'm just here to watch the show, sir. Okay. I think airplanes are pretty cool, so I wanted to check this out.
Cool. It is cool.
Pretty cool. I like airplanes. The hell is even going on here? And by the way, you know why he calls it an F-47, right? As opposed to F-36 would be the one that goes after 35. Then Pete Hegseth just starts glazing Elon Musk. Elon Musk is an innovator. Elon Musk is the greatest. We love Elon Musk here. We love him. The hell? Play this clip.
Elon Musk is a patriot. Elon Musk is an innovator. Elon Musk provides a lot of capabilities our government and our military rely on, and I'm grateful for that. We welcomed him today to the Pentagon to talk about DOGE, to talk about efficiencies, to talk about innovations. It was a
Donald Trump is then asked if he believes he has the authority to round people up and deport them and not give them process. And Donald Trump goes, yep, that's the law. I can do what I want. Play the clip.
It didn't happen.
Mr. President, do you think you have the authority, the power to round up people, deport them, and then you're under no obligation to a court to show the evidence against them?
Well, that's what the law says, and that's what our country needs, because we were, unfortunately, they allowed millions of people to come into our country, totally unvetted, totally unchecked. So you ought to ask, did he have the authority to allow millions of people? Did Biden have the authority to do something that's unthinkable?
Then Donald Trump calls Tim Walz, Governor Walz, a loser.
I don't know if you saw this. Tim Walz is now saying about Trump supporters, and forgive me, I'm just reading a quote from Tim Walz. I think I could kick most of their ass.
Oh boy, he'd be in trouble.
Is there any way to know?
Well, he's a loser. I mean, the guy's a loser. He lost an election. He played a part. Usually a vice president doesn't play a part, they say. I think Tim played a part. I think he was so bad that he hurt her. But she hurt herself, and Joe hurt them both. They didn't have a great group, but I would probably put him at the bottom of the group.
Have you heard that Biden wants to get back involved for Democratic politicians, fundraising and campaigning against your policies?
I hope so.
And then Pete Hegseth, after all of that, has the audacity to say, under the previous administration, we looked like fools, but we don't look like fools anymore. I think you look like the biggest fools. The world is, our enemies are laughing at you. Our allies are horrified at you. Play this clip.
Under the previous administration, we looked like fools. Not anymore. President Trump has reestablished American leadership. The F-47 is part of it. And Mr. President, thank you for having the courage to do it and leading the way for all our warfighters.
Thank you.
While this is going on, what else is going on throughout the nation? Just take a look. People get that these Trump tariffs and these Trump disastrous economic policies are going to hurt them. For example, take a look at this Pennsylvania butcher. Play this clip.
Here, this is all domestic. But as you know, you used to work at Costco. The big chains, they get a lot of their beef from Canada and Mexico. If you get a 25% tariff on that, what's that do?
It's going to increase the price. It's going to, the consumer's going to pay for it.
You on board with that?
Well, listen, I mean, you have no choice in a way. I mean, my philosophy is to sell it as low as you can to show a savings, a value to the customer, and hopefully you have more customers to generate your revenue.
Also, Donald Trump's Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, billionaire Howard Lutnick, the guy who was yesterday on the news saying people need to buy Tesla stock to pump up the stock. And he goes, everyone should also consider buying in the future $30,000 Tesla robots. Yes, Trump regime, as you're gutting people's Medicaid, as you're calling Social Security a Ponzi scheme, as you're firing veterans, as you're engaged in cruel and inhumane treatment of American citizens and of others in general, as you're throwing people in concentration camps as well. Yes, buy $30,000 robots. But here Howard Lutnick is asked on this podcast, this bro podcast on like finances called All In, where they talk about how rich they are, or like, well, how much money you making? You got millions of dollars. I got whatever they're talking about. Howard Lutnick is asked, do you think that you should be more empathetic about how you talk about Doge and Doge destroying people's life? And Howard Lutnick goes, no. Why would I be more empathetic? This is what the American people want. They want to be treated like this. Play this clip.
Before we get there, I want to ask one last question on the cuts. Can we speak do we need to speak in a more empathetic way? Because that $1 trillion of spending flows into someone's pocket. Some percentage of that pays people a salary and they live on that income. And I think a lot of okay, I think this is important for you to highlight because a lot of people are reacting.
Watching these oligarchs, watching these billionaires say, this is how people want to be treated and you shouldn't be more empathetic. These people are disgusting humans. These people are vile people. These Trumpers, there's no other way to say it. Let's not mince words. These are disgusting people. Here, Howard Lutnick talks about, if a Social Security check doesn't come, whatevs. My mom wouldn't, my mother-in-law wouldn't care. Play this clip.
Let's say Social Security didn't send out their checks this month. My mother-in-law, who's 94, she wouldn't call and complain. She just wouldn't. She'd think something got messed up. And she'll get it next month.
Yeah.
A fraudster always makes the loudest.
Huh? Seriously? They're also doing things like this. This news broke. I'm sure you've heard about it. How a promising advance in the fight against Alzheimer's could be threatened by Doge cuts. Play this clip.
A promising advance in the fight against Alzheimer's could be threatened by Doge cuts and funding delays. Researchers have developed an experimental drug that appears to delay symptoms in some people who are genetically destined to get the disease in their 40s or 50s. It is a first of its kind study, but early results have been encouraging. However, the NIH grant that researchers hoped would fund further research to save lives has been delayed, an example of how spending cuts and confusion in Washington are affecting critical scientific research.
And now our allies as well say that the United States is retreating from its push to enforce Russian sanctions. So these sanctions against Russia are not being enforced by the Trump regime right now. Horrific stuff, or a lot of them are not being enforced, allowing Russia to move its money and to do deals, which it wasn't allowed to do under the Biden administration based on the sanctions regime that is in place. What else was Donald Trump doing? Attack. I'm not even going to read this one. Attacking judges. These injunctions are unlawful. It's unfair that judges are saying that we can't kidnap people and then send them to concentration camps, and that they're delaying it. And it's just him whining over and over and over again about it. All caps. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 5 million subscribers. Thanks for watching.
You see the reporters. Now, keep in mind, Trump sort of cherry-picked who he wants to cover him when he's given, press conferences and stuff, okay? So naturally, one would think that the people that are there asking him questions are going to ask him softball questions because they don't want to get kicked out. So some of the things that he said had a lot of people in Canada kind of concerned as to what the hell he's talking about. And one of the things is about this subsidizing Canada, which they don't, it's like they say, what are you talking about? How does the United States subsidize Canada? And what's he also talking about, these 400% tariffs, okay? Because he makes it sound like that it's a broad fucking tariff on everything, okay? And the subsidizing thing is such a big issue, but it's not true. I mean, it's the first that Canadians heard about it. They're saying he's misrepresenting things here. It's like, if a person goes to McDonald's to buy a fucking cheeseburger for $8, then turns around and tells everyone he subsidized McDonald's for $15, they're saying he's coming up with some crazy numbers here. But there is a tariff on dairy products. It's based on a quota, and as I understand it, it's a quota for imports and exports on dairy products. And there's a tariff there that applies to it, so that way nobody is selling or exceeding the quota that's allowed for both sides. Okay, so it's like an even Steven sort of trade there, and it's applied on both ways. Okay. That's, basically that all I could find about it. So, like I said, Trump is kind of pulling these numbers out, but he's not representing them well. He's not telling people the truth about it. And he's making it sound like that the Canadians are screwing us in the ass over these things, but there's nothing there. And then another thing that the Canadians are asking, and I would like to understand what Trump means by it. When Trump says, Canada's got nothing we want. Okay, there's nothing that they have, that we need. Okay, and they're like saying, okay, so then why do you want to make us a state then? If we have nothing that you want, he seems dead set on making Canada a fucking state, but yet why? I mean, throughout history, Genghis Khan and all these goddamn people who went after countries and stuff like that to conquer, it was always for something, right? Well, there must be something here that Trump isn't willing to tell us that he wants from Canada, because it must be pretty big, whatever the hell it is. Is it because they're sitting on oil or something up there somewhere? I don't know what the hell it is. It could be that. He's probably wants to take their oil supply. Because from what I gathered last year, I read a report saying that the oil companies in the United States aren't so eager to drill baby drill anymore. And so maybe this is the way Trump wants to solve, the energy issue here with oil in this country, is to go and take another country who has oil and suck it dry. I don't know, but he really needs to come clean with people and say, why is it you're giving two different messages? On one side you're saying Canada's got nothing, then on the other hand, you want Canada as a 51st state. Now, is it because, it's a pretty country or something like that? Or is it because you're after something on the land, minerals or oil or some goddamn thing? Tell us what the hell it is, because then that would put in perspective what the hell the motivation is behind Trump talking like this, instead of leaving everybody in the dark. But the press didn't push him on that. They didn't ask him to explain his obsession with trying to make Canada into a state. And they really need to. I mean, a lot of people are asking that question, but they're not coming up with any goddamn answers here. And the thing that Trump saying the other day about, Canada is not a real country, that I think he got that from Putin, because Putin would say that about Ukraine not being a real country. Because, he considers it, it's Russian land. It belongs to us. We have a right to take it back. I remember all those times he would say that, and that was like going back a couple of years when the first months of the war started. He was saying that's our land. It rightfully belongs to Russia. And now you got Trump here saying, echoing that kind of sentiment about Canada, saying, it's our land, it's not a real country, you know, we deserve it, you know. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, some people are saying, you know, this is an indication that Trump is still, his mind is still eroding, and these things are coming out of his mouth, and he doesn't really know what he's saying. You know, that could be. I mean, I don't know. And the people that surround him and go by what he says, on the other hand, tell me that maybe they think he's just fine, or maybe or maybe they don't care. Maybe they'll say, "Yo, let's go after fucking K," because they don't understand, what the hell is the matter with Trump. I mean, he certainly doesn't seem all the time that Trump is really firing on all thrusters, as they say. Christ. It certainly doesn't seem like that all the time. So you do have to wonder, but of course they keep any status of his mental abilities close to home. They don't want nobody knowing how he is mentally. But at some point, it's going to be very hard to hide that. And the idea, let's take all these people that have been going after Tesla there and blowing things up and whatever, calling them domestic terrorists. Okay. It's like, well, when we tried to call the January 6ers domestic terrorists, you guys had a fucking fit about it. Even though they defaced the Capitol, they shit inside of it on the floor. They tried to go in there to hunt people down. They went into people's offices and vandalized them. Oh, they're not domestic terrorists. But the people that are going after Tesla and, blowing up cars and stuff like that, okay, they are. They are domestic terrorists, okay? So, that argument on the surface is bullshit. It's baloney, okay? It's false anger is what that is, okay? It's only Musk that's bitching about it, and because Musk is basically on Trump's right hand, okay, they're going to go after the people doing this stuff. But to sit there and say it's okay for them, the people, the MAGA people doing what they did on January 6th, and then saying it's not okay for no. Hypocrisy, double standard, okay, and it makes no sense, and it's false baloney, a false hysteria, just manufactured anger, and no one's buying it, okay? Nobody in this country is sitting here screaming, go after these people that are destroying the cars, okay? Nobody, okay? And then they turn around and they're gutting Medicaid, Social Security, tearing apart the Department of Education, okay? And at the same time, they're pumping all kinds of money into the military budget, into this fucking airplane, this F-47, okay? They ought to call it the Felon 47 because, because that's why they call it the 47. It's because of Trump, but I'd say the F-47, it's pretty clear what it means. Felon 47, the jet. And I hope everybody picks up on that and makes it viral because that would make a perfect name for that jet. But they're taking all that money and they're putting it into the military. Remember I was saying about how the budget, if you could go through the military budget and cut all the waste spending that goes on in that, Jesus Christ. There'd be so much money there available for lots of things that we could have used it for over the years to fund things on the civilian sector, okay? A lot of things. Because a lot of times military projects begin and they don't necessarily have a conclusion. They just end because, funding for it gets too expensive, or people say, oh, okay, we, scrap it, whatever, because it didn't work, okay, and all that money was wasted. Okay, things like that happen all the time. Now, it's understandable that they do these things as they're trying to create weapons, and not every weapon they create is green-lit to be and put in mass production. But at the same time, it's also money wasted. Okay, you're talking about government waste. Well, there you go. Military budget. And the things that the military have to buy is always overpriced because they know they'll get that money because it's from the government, right? So they're always hit with overpriced overcharges and things like that. So, you know, the fact that we have allowed our government to continually increase spending in the military and decrease spending for the other parts of the budget, it shows right there that there's waste going on right there. And yet they're going to pick on the small sliver, the small pieces of the pie for what nickels and dimes they might find there as waste. You know what? Since Musk started this crusade, he hasn't found any waste in anything. What they've been doing is simply cutting. Cut this, cut that, cut that. He's not coming up with a thing that says, oh, well, we found some waste spending here. We found some wasteful spending here. We closed some expenditures here that didn't need to be. He hasn't brought any fucking reports to anybody about anything that he's found. Okay? But the one place they ain't going is the military budget, because they know they're going to find all kinds of things there that are being wasteful. But hey, the military supports a lot of big fucking fat cats in this country. Okay? They make a lot of money off of this fucking these military contracts and stuff. So they're not gonna fucking mess with that. No. The wasteful spending will continue as far as the military is concerned, but no, everything else, you know, oh, you got low test scores? Okay, let's get rid of the whole fucking department, okay? You know, it's like saying, you know, if your kid comes down, you know, with the flu, kill him, you know? That's the same logic. Nothing that they found that was wrong with the Department of Education is something they can't fix, okay? Whatever the hell problem they were having with the Department of Education, nothing in that was unfixable. Nothing. They could have done some things to straighten out that department if they thought it was so fucking bad. They didn't have to just dismantle it, okay? That's like burning your house down because somebody threw a can of paint on the side of your home. It's ridiculous. These things can be fixed, and you don't destroy it. But see, that's what they were trying to do with the ACA after it got started. When they had a few hiccups here when it was starting, oh, let's take it all apart. You know, it's all political posturing. It's all based on, oh, we can't let the Democrats have anything or make any successes. We have to show that it doesn't work, even if we got to tear it apart. We have to engineer it to fall apart. We got to bake the fucking rig in the game so that way it falls apart. You know, this is what they do. This is what Republicans have always done to try and convince people in this country that government doesn't work. I mean, you even had fucking Ronald Reagan go out there and say, oh, the most hateful words you'll ever hear is, you know, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Really? Tell that to all these countries that we helped during the 80s, okay, when that were starving and all that, and how much aid we give to poor countries and stuff. Go tell them that, okay? Go tell them that. No. It's all about imperialism. It's all about, you know, isolationism. That's what they're all about. They don't want America to do anything for anybody, but they want everybody to do for them. That's what they want. Okay, they just want this. They want this country to be, you know, the #1 country on the planet for everything, but in a bad way. Okay, they don't want to make this country into a utopia. They want to make it into a fucking nation made for oligarchs. That's what they want. Only the rich can enjoy this country. Everybody else, you know, you're the peasants that we have to run over with our expensive cars. That's what we are. But the wealthy, the rich, they get everything. It's their country. Okay? And right now, that's kind of what it is right now. It's not, we don't have a government. What we have is an oligarchy now running everything. And the longer they stay in the White House, people, the worse things are going to get. The more things are going to disappear. The easier it's going to be for the private sector to pick up things that were once government programs, and they're going to offer that to you for cost. Okay? and for all of us who don't have money or are going to lose money because we don't have buying power, we can't go to the Walmart, we can't buy anything expensive. Okay? When people can't spend, there's no such thing as capitalism anymore, right? So it's all about, people being in servitude to the rich in order to get things. So as they set this up to fail, so they can get rid of the government, this is where we're going to end up. And the longer this goes on, the harder it's going to be to stop it. Okay, that's the reason why we're trying to push the Democrats to get off their fucking ass. Okay, they need to get these. You need to feed this country anger and hatred, and get people out there in droves. Okay, there should not be a day that goes by where all of Washington D.C. Okay. There shouldn't be a day that goes by where there are not people surrounding the White House. Okay, people should be there by the millions. Okay, encased around that fucking place. That's what needs to happen. People need to be there right now. It's just drop everything that you're doing and go there, because I feel this is more important than your job, than whatever the fuck you're doing at home. Okay, you need to pick up your shit. Get to D.C., make your fucking voice heard, be a thorn in everybody's side in government, okay? Do what you have to do, because I'll tell you, they don't like that. When they look out the window and all they see is a sea of people everywhere, okay? They don't like that. Nixon didn't like that. That was what was happening when he was president, was all kinds of people surrounding the fucking White House all the fucking time. He didn't like that. Okay, so that's what we have to do. We got to be there underfoot, in the way, okay, making it impossible for them to ignore us. And I think that's kind of where we're at right now. This is crunch time, folks, and what happens depends on how willing we are to fight for what we want. We want our lives back, essentially. Okay, people are being thrown out of this country for no damn good reason. Okay, the media is not going to tell you that, of the mistakes that were made, of some people who were deported under mysterious conditions or circumstances. Okay, there's people that are disappearing, okay, over a small matter that really had nothing to do with immigration, but they've been deported out of here just the same. You got people from Canada that were detained here for 2 weeks. Why? What the hell's going on? I thought we were Trump said we were going to get rid of the immigrants and stuff like that. No, we're going after everybody. Anybody that's not American, or anybody who is American but has dark skin, they're all being picked up by folks wearing Captain America t-shirts. Okay? Okay, they're being detained by people we don't even recognize as people in authority. We don't even know who the fuck they are. They don't show any identification. All right? They have no warrants. For all we know, these people are just nothing but fucking bounty hunters, for Christ's sake. How the hell can we trust what we're seeing, as legitimate? So to resist against them, yeah, you're goddamn right. You have every fucking right to resist. Okay? Think about that. If a cop who wasn't in uniform or something tried to pull you over on the road, all right, and didn't show you a badge or anything like that, why would you do it? Why would you pull over? Okay? That would be like you're taking a chance that the person's not some kind of a mass killer or something like that, right? Same thing with these fucking assholes in ICE. If they're not going to come around wearing some kind of uniform or a goddamn badge or fucking identification of who they are, okay? And it doesn't matter if they're carrying a gun. We got people with permits to carry their guns. That could be anybody, all right? That still doesn't make them a person in authority, but because they have a gun, and you can buy handcuffs at any goddamn army surplus store, So really, think about that. Use your fucking brain. Don't just accept on the surface what you're seeing is true, okay? We don't know who these people are. So it's ridiculous that Trump has got us to this point. There's a travel warning from Denmark, from Germany, from the UK to their people that if you come into this country, you better follow the rules. You could be detained. In fact, some people are still being detained even if they are following the rules. They're also telling people that if you are a trans person and you come into this country and your sex is not the same as the sex you were born with on your birth certificate, you could be detained. My advice to anybody in other countries that may be watching this is do not come to the United States. Okay, stay the fuck out of it right now, because I don't know what's going on in this country. I can't promise that, you know, even if you follow the rules, you're not going to get picked up. We got hysteria going on in this country that, frankly, is being fueled by other assholes who are bigots and racists and all them and homophobes. Okay, we have a perfect storm going on here in this country, and it's going to affect other people in other countries. And if we start detaining people from other countries in America for no good reason, those other countries are going to apply pressure on us to bring those people back. You see what I'm saying? So incoming the sanctions, incoming, you know, whatever. But, you know, we could inadvertently start a goddamn war with the rest of the world by the actions that we take here in the United States. So please, don't come to the United States. Find some other place to go if you want to enjoy the summer or wherever it is that you want to go, okay? Go somewhere else, but avoid this country at all costs, okay? This America is turning into a hateful regime, okay? And a lot of us Americans are going to suffer heavily under it, okay? And unless we fight back in an equal and opposite reaction to that hatefulness, we're never going to dig ourselves out of this fucking hole. All right, so let's go to a commercial break, and we'll...
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you. Original.
Don't look up. Elon Musk's rockets keep blowing up. Pieces falling out of the sky. Airports across Florida shut down. Planes are crashing. Near misses. Dangerous. What are Donald Trump and Elon Musk doing? Slashing the Federal Aviation Administration, the one government agency that protects you in the sky. It's crazy. Elon Musk doesn't care. He doesn't fly like the rest of us. For him, it's private planes, private airports. But there's another reason Elon Musk wants to gut the FAA. It's the agency that regulates his rockets that keep blowing up. The FAA has fined Musk's rocket company hundreds of thousands of dollars. Oh, by the way, you're paying for those exploding rockets. Musk gets billions from taxpayers. He wants to build spaceships to take billionaires to Mars. Yeah, nuts. Elon Musk is out of control.
It's been incredibly dry in Austin lately. We're going through a dry spell. It's usually pretty humid here, but it's been a few months of dry weather, and my hair and skin are definitely feeling the effects from it. And also how this dress is fitting me. I never wear silk, but I can tell that this is not how it's normally supposed to fit. It's like clinging to me to the point where I feel like I'm wearing a second skin. It's like staticky, sticky on me. And it's feeling really weird, but I guess it's good for you guys, because second skin, you know what that means. Yeah.
Did you know that baking soda and ice cold water is the crucial secret to reach firmness?
Just go to the kitchen and do this before going to bed.
I never stopped to think about that.
Exactly. It's simple if you think about it. There's no miracle. The only thing that makes a man firm is increasing blood flow to that area.
That's what the famous blue pills do, right?
Yes, but they do it by dilating the veins. That's why they don't solve the problem permanently. There's only one way to permanently fix this problem without relying on pills, prescriptions, pumps, or exercises, and that's by clearing out the veins that are clogged with plaques. That's why the Indian doctor is getting so popular in the media. He discovered an Indian bull trick that can clear out more than 93% of the plaques. This brings 20 times more blood flow to the area for men. That's why this trick is so effective. A top research team at Johns Hopkins University investigated and confirmed that this trick works for any man, regardless of age. There are already over 62,000 men in America alone who have permanently reversed the problem.
When I saw that I could get firm again without taking any pills, I couldn't believe it. It had been years since I was able to perform.
For over 6 years, I couldn't stay firm. My marriage was terrible, and my wife left me, and we got divorced. That's when I found the Indian bull trick recipe, and I still can't believe I'm firmer than when I was 18. Now I'm dating a woman 20 years younger than me, and she's very satisfied with my performance.
That's incredible.
I told you it's something innovative, and it's been proven to work for any man. I'll leave the link to the free class here for anyone who wants to see it. So, click the button below and watch the free video with the full recipe.
But why isn't anyone talking about this in the media?
This trick was recently discovered, and since it was found, blue pill sales have dropped by over 60% in India. The industry is very worried that this natural trick will become popular in America. That's why they're doing everything they can to keep it from being publicized. This free class has already been taken down twice, and it's close to being taken down for the 3rd time. And this time, it looks like it will be permanent. So this could be the last chance for those who need to see this information. Click the button below and watch the free class with the complete step-by-step guide.
Hello, Daniel Caldwell. This is the VA Crisis Response Hotline. We're calling to inform you that your emergency request for in-person counseling for PTSD has been denied. To stop fraud, waste, and abuse, these services will be replaced by VetCare AI, powered by Grok, an X company. President Trump and Doge Chairman Musk, thank you for your service and being part of our efforts to eliminate waste. Have a nice day. Press 1 to repeat this message. Press 2 to return to main menu. Press 3 to leave a message, and an AI operator will call you back if your problem is deemed unwasteful. Goodbye.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it. Write for Pollution Booklet, Box 1771, Radio City Station, New York.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Turn that down, Jesus. What the hell is that? That's not even classical music. What are they playing on there? Oh, all right. And welcome back, everybody. Sorry, the radio that I got it on this PBS station. They play classical music, and now all of a sudden I'm hearing sounds like cartoon music playing in the damn thing. All right. And there goes the train. This next video is from the Humanist Report, and there was a hearing going on about trans people, and what caught this person here's interest was this elderly man who sat through most of the hearing, hearing the stories from trans people who had to go through living hell in order to, live their life as a trans person. Some of them, I think almost all of them, had moments in their life where they thought about suicide because people were trying to force them to live a life that they didn't feel comfortable living, that they didn't feel was meant for them. They may have been born a gender, but in their mind, they don't feel like that was the gender that they should be. Okay? Now, I know what people are going to say. Oh, well, there's something wrong with their brain. Okay, maybe, but that also could mean that maybe, the act of being born is much more complicated and nuanced a thing than we have yet to understand. That maybe sexuality and the body, okay, the mind and the body are two separate things, okay? And with the mind being formed one way and the body being formed another, that could be something that happens, a lot. And we think it's because a person has just got a mental problem, and it may be that, the mind and the body were not formed correctly during pregnancy. Now, we've got a lot of people out there while they're pregnant are out there drinking alcohol and taking medications and, doing all kinds of things they're not supposed to be doing. There's a lot of ways that things like this could happen, during a pregnancy. All right? And the human mind to this day is still a mystery to scientists and medical people, okay? We don't know about all the fucking nuances of how the mind actually works, We don't know. So how can anyone make a black and white judgment by just saying, oh, well, your brain's damaged, that's why you feel like it is? You don't know that. We're still trying to study that ourselves. But you guys, you feel uncomfortable around these people, okay? And because of that, you make your fucking opinions based on your comfort level around them, okay? You have no idea. And your book, the Bible, doesn't explain nothing about that either, okay? I don't care what line you want to quote out of there. There's nothing in it that suggests that you can turn around and shun people at random, okay? There's nothing in there that says that. I don't care where the hell you're digging that crap up, but that's all make-believe what you're talking about there. So let's go to that video here, and then we'll discuss that on the other side.
Republicans in the state assembly held a public hearing on a bill that would prevent youth in Wisconsin from receiving medically necessary gender-affirming care. The members of the Wisconsin LGBTQ+ caucus gave testimony in opposition of the bill. People got to speak at the hearing where they voiced their concerns that gender-affirming care is safe, medically necessary, and saves lives. And others voiced how some treatment is still allowed in regards to this bill.
Doesn't feel so great for the parents either. We know from the short notice on this hearing that the bill is already destined from the veto pen, and you do not care. care. The cruelty, it seems, is the point.
You just heard from a Wisconsin mother whose trans child could be affected by Assembly Bill 104 if it were to pass, which would not just ban gender-affirming healthcare for trans and non-binary youth, as the Wisconsin Examiner reports, it would also revoke the license for medical professionals who provide such care. And it's one of 4 bills targeting anti-trans youth that Republicans in Wisconsin held a hearing on in just the last 2 weeks. Now, the good news is that this has almost no chance of passing because the state's Democratic Governor Tony Evers said that he would veto it, and he's already vetoed anti-trans bills just like this one before. So the question is, why are Republicans even wasting their time on something like this when they could be focusing on the cost of living or healthcare or any other issue that's affecting people in that state? And I think that mom nailed it. The cruelty is the point. These hearings are meant to be a spectacle, to send a message to trans people that they're not equal in Wisconsin. But the thing about cruelty is that if you're too cruel, it can backfire. And during this 12-plus hour-long hearing, residents showed up to testify for and against Assembly Bill 104, including this elderly man from Milwaukee named Larry Jones, who showed up to testify in support of the ban on gender-affirming healthcare. Now, before he could say his piece, he listened to about 7 hours of testimony from people who had a lot to say about this legislation, and that included a lot of trans people as well, who explained how gender-affirming healthcare improved their quality of life or straight up saved it.
You've heard a lot of people say this is life-saving care, and I'm the proof of that. When I was in 6th grade, I was super miserable. Everybody's telling me, you have to be a girl, you have to be a girl. There's no other choice. You have no choice in this matter. You were born a girl, you stay a girl. So because nobody was listening to me and because I was so miserable and hated myself and I hated my life, I tried to kill myself because I could not live with who I was anymore. And so I ended up in the emergency room. I ended up in Rogers. I eventually ended up in residential treatment. And there I finally said, I'm a guy and I can't live that way and nobody will listen to me. And so from there, my parents finally did listen and they said, okay, if you're a guy, we'll figure things out. And it was after they accepted me and after they allowed me to identify as a guy that I was finally happy. I was finally able to breathe again.
Before medical transition, there was a large gap between who I was and what I was, and this gap was distracting. My mental health was poor, and I struggled with depression and anxiety. Testosterone flipped everything on its head, improving my life in ways I didn't know it could. My anxiety and depression improved. What I was finally aligned with who I was, and I found myself with a new vitality and interest in life. Socializing became easier knowing that other people saw me as who I am. I began doing more with my life. I joined band, got into weightlifting, made more friends, started dating, and pursued leadership positions at school. Many of these actions led to me getting accepted to my first choice university.
I am a trans man and my name is Darcy, and I have known that I was a boy since preschool, long before I knew the word transgender, let alone what it meant. In fact, it would be well over a decade before I even heard the word at all. The first time I distinctly remember feeling that gender disconnect was when I came home from preschool and told my mom that I had a crush on a girl in my class. My mother, a devout Christian missionary, told me that only boys have crushes on girls and that I couldn't because I was a girl. Without hesitation, I told her that I was fine, I would just be a boy. She got mad and said that's not how it works, and we just didn't talk about it again until high school. But I never stopped feeling like I was bad at being a girl. I didn't have the words to explain why. And growing up in a conservative Christian homeschool household wasn't exactly conducive to learning about LGBTQ topics. I didn't even hear the word transgender again until I was 15. When I did, I looked it up and wept with self-recognition. Finally, I saw myself. I wasn't a defective girl. I was a trans boy.
In 2021, I fell into the deepest bout of depression I've ever dealt with. I felt alone, unloved, and unlovable. It got so bad to the point that I tried to end my life. After a while, I started to get better. I realized why I felt so estranged from myself, and that is because of my gender dysphoria. Now, almost 9 months on T, I get to experience things similar to my cisgender peers. My voice is lower, my body is more masculine, and I've even started to grow a mustache. I finally feel like myself. If I could talk to younger me when I was struggling the most, I would love to show him how much better it got, how now I feel loved and supported by my community, and I truly get to be me.
And that's just some of the testimonies that Larry heard when he was waiting to testify himself. Now, there was also anti-trans lobbying groups that showed up, like Do No Harm, Gays Against Groomers, and Mobs for Liberty that also testified, albeit in support of the bill. But when it was finally Larry's time to testify in favor of the bill at around 7 hours in, it was clear that the trans testimonies specifically resonated with him to the point where, while he was listening, he came to the realization that he was completely wrong. After hearing firsthand from trans people and their experiences, he realized, oh my God, I've made a terrible mistake. And then when he got to the microphone, he used that time not to testify in support of this bill, but to apologize for supporting the ban on gender affirming care in the first place.
All right, Larry, the floor is yours. You got 2 minutes.
First of all, I'd like to apologize to you people. I was invited here to give my support for Bill 401. I have very little knowledge of gay people and things like that there. So when I came here, my eyes were open. I was one of the critics that sat on the side and made the decisions there was only 2 genders. So I got an education that was unbelievable. And I don't know just exactly how to say this, but my perspective for people have changed. So I don't want to take up no more of your time. I'd like to apologize for being here, and I learned a very lot about this group of people.
Incredible. That man should give us all hope in this dark time, because no matter how many lies they spread about trans people, it is still true that ignorance can be defeated by the truth. Some people are just deeply ideological or have deep-seated hatred that won't go away with a couple of testimonies, but for a lot of people, they just don't know any better and they're anti-trans by default. But when they meet trans people, when they talk to trans people, they begin to realize that all of the nonsense they were told about them just wasn't true. They learn that they're human, just like everyone else, trying to live their best lives, and seeing the humanity of the trans boogeyman conservatives constructed in their minds is the most potent antidote to their bigotry. This is why, months before his assassination, in his What is America speech, Harvey Milk encouraged queer people to come out, saying, I'm tired of their myths, I'm tired of their distortions, I'm speaking out about it. Gay brothers and sisters, what are you going to do about it? You must come out. Come out to your parents. I know that it is hard and that it will hurt them, but think of how they will hurt you in the voting booth. Come out to your relatives. I know that it is hard and will upset them, but think of how they will upset you in the voting booth. Come out to your friends. If indeed they are your friends, come out to your neighbors, to your coworkers, to the people who work where you eat and shop. Come out only to the people you know and who know you, not to anyone else. But once and for all, break down the myths, destroy the lies and distortions. And decades later, he was proven right. When you come out, you shatter the illusion. My family was vehemently anti-gay because they didn't know a gay person. So when I came out, they realized that all of the terrible things that they were told about gay people just weren't true because they knew me and they loved me. So in coming out, I slayed the gay boogeyman in their heads. And the same thing happens when trans people come out. Their friends and their family and their coworkers start to see them as people and not as monsters or political props. Right now, trans people are what Republicans say they are to most Americans. That is, until they meet one in real life and become friends with them, or they see their story on TV, then the illusion gets shattered. Which is why there's this censorship push, because Republicans know that if trans people are humanized, it'll be a lot more difficult to dehumanize them. And demonizing trans people is crucial to their political project, because if Americans blame trans people for all of our problems, well, they're probably not going to look to the people at the top who's robbing them blind. As Laverne Cox put it, they want you to focus on the wrong 1%. And it's important now more than ever to humanize trans people because there are so many draconian, frankly, genocidal policies that are being introduced to criminalize the existence of trans people. And just to show you what I mean, in 2025 alone, there's been more than 500 anti-LGBTQ plus bills introduced in state legislatures across the country, and most of these are anti-trans bills, like HB 3817 in Texas that makes simply being transgender a felony. I'll repeat that. It makes being trans a crime with the penalty of up to 2 years in prison and a fine of up to $10,000. There's also HB 446 in Montana, which would criminalize transness by characterizing it as indecent exposure. So that way, if a trans guy, for example, took off his shirt at the beach, or a trans woman used the ladies' locker room, well, they would be doing a crime tantamount to indecent exposure, tantamount to flashing. But let's not forget about HB 1668 in Arkansas, which lets parents in or outside the state sue anyone who knowingly affirms the gender of a young trans person. And then there's SB 456 in West Virginia, which would legalize genital inspections for minors by doctors without the consent of the parents. This is sick shit we're talking about here. And in addition to these kinds of Orwellian bills, states like Florida are suing Target for stocking Pride merch. I'm not making this up. And at the federal level, aside from the blatantly anti-trans executive orders that Trump signed, he's also sharing the same anti-LGBTQ plus symbolism that the Nazis used during the Holocaust to mark LGBTQ plus people for death. So this is where we're at in 2025. They've given up the pretense that this attack on trans rights is about protecting kids altogether, and now they're just waging an outright war on trans existence. And predictably, the anti-trans hate has led to a resurgence in homophobia as well, which isn't surprising because the reason why people hate trans people is the same exact reason why they hate gay people. The origin of bigotry is the same, and Republicans across the country are proposing resolutions calling on the Supreme Court to overturn their 2015 Obergefell decision, which legalized marriage equality in all 50 states. And the Supreme Court is set to hear a case on conversion therapy soon, which could very likely overturn state bans on the torturous practice. And I promise you, LGBTQ plus people do not want to rehash this bullshit. I don't want to focus on gay marriage in 2025. I'd much rather talk about healthcare and childcare and education and housing and other issues that affect all of us. But with that being said, I'm not going to just stand by and let them take away my marriage rights. So this is why civil rights issues are linked to the class war. The so-called culture war is an attempt to obscure the class war. But if we all team up and win the culture war or just stop fighting it altogether, we can more easily focus on the class war. And if you show up for gay and trans people, they're going to show up for you. If you show up for gay and trans people and make it so that way they don't have to fight this fight alone, then they will be able to show up for you and fight for your rights too, like higher wages for you and better education for your children and childcare. The right wants to refight civil rights battles that they've already lost because it inhibits our ability to focus on the class war that they're waging against all of us. Listen, no queer person wants to do this shit. They don't want to have to fight for basic recognition in the year 2025, but they have to in order to survive. We're not the ones obsessed with LGBTQ plus rights, contrary to popular belief. They are. We are just defending our right to exist. So show up for trans people, and they'll show up for you too. Help them with this fight, and they will help you in your fight. And the queer people who testified against Assembly Bill 104 proved Harvey Milk's point about the power of coming out, because it humanizes queer people. So with that in mind, share their testimonies and share their stories and humanize trans people in any way that you can, because if Americans see the faces of these victims of Republican policies, it'll be much more difficult for them to dehumanize these people.
So, I think it's really interesting that, I would never think that a guy as old as that would come out and say that he's changed his mind about trans people after he heard all their stories. I would say, if a person at that age is probably closed-minded and won't listen, that they go to these things with a pre-existing, opinion, and they're going to stick to that, and they're not going to bother to try to question whether they are actually correct in what they think or not. But this fella did. Okay, that's pretty unique, I think. You don't see that very often. Okay, other people might get pissed off at him for that, but you know something, that's only because people that get mad at a guy who who admits he's wrong, people that don't like that, they themselves have already fallen into the trap of always thinking that their own bullshit, their own lies is the truth, okay? They stay in their little echo chamber with other people who utter the same nonsense that they do. And they stroke each other's ego, so that way they continue to believe this shit all through their life. And they never open their minds up and listen to somebody else because, oh, you know, it's too uncomfortable. I don't want these people around me. It's too uncomfortable. Okay? And I know in this video he's sitting there, oh, in 2025, how can we still be? It doesn't matter what fucking year it is. I can almost promise you in the year 3059, we're still going to have people that are uncomfortable around certain people, okay? Because it's human nature. It's human nature. We haven't even made progress yet with white people mingling with black people yet. Okay, we might think we have. People might not say it out loud, but the fact that they go after homosexuals, they go after the trans people, they go after Haitians and Venezuelans and all this stuff. Okay, if we're doing that, then we're still already stuck with trying to make people think about whites and blacks being together. Okay, so we haven't made progress in any of that because it all falls under the same shit: racism, bigotry, homophobia. You know, all the phobias. Okay, all that is still in play even after all these years, after all these generations. We're still, you know, marginalizing people we can't feel comfortable around because they don't act like us or something else. Okay, that's the reason why. That's why wars have been fought in this country. That's why things have happened in other countries. Okay, we cannot fucking get along with people. We can't get along with each other. We don't like diversity. We hate that. We want everybody to be made in the same goddamn cookie cutter everyone else. That's what people want. But you know something? Even if everybody looked alike and sounded alike and dressed alike, they'd still look for something that would piss them off. Okay? And you know what that would be? What people believe. Okay? You can't get two fucking people that might come out of the same religion, might be the same political persuasion, same race, but you're still going to have a problem. Because those two people are going to have their own sets of values and everything, no matter what you think. There's no such thing. No two people can be alike. Even if they're fucking twins raised in the same family, they're going to be different. There's going to be differences. Okay? So, with that in mind, why act like everybody should be like you? Why act like that? It just doesn't exist. There is no such thing. We have all been created differently. That's why nobody's fingerprints matches anybody else. Okay, every single one of us is unique. So that means everybody around us is of a different persuasion, different diversity. We're all different. Okay? We're all different. Once you get that set in your fucking your head, okay, it becomes easier then to look at other people that you don't like and understand, well, you know, they'll make you say, well, there must be something that I can connect with them over. Maybe there's something we like, okay? Because you're going to find yourself alone in this world if you're unable to do that, all right? Because, look, I've been in a lot of different, from my experience here, I was in a writer's group. I was in a fucking science fiction group, okay? And, you know, I've been to groups, group therapy and stuff like that, where I had something in common in each of those fucking things. And you know what? We still had our arguments. We still had our disagreements, okay? We still had our strife, okay? There's no such thing as finding, you know, people that you're going to always get along with, okay? So why try? That's my point. Why waste time and energy trying to find only those people that you can feel comfortable with, because you can't feel comfortable with anybody because, hey, if they're going to disagree with you on something, oh, no, okay? I see that all the time online. You people that go into these chat rooms, okay, and you go into these groups that you think, oh, we're all of the same mind, and you're still fighting. You're still fighting in there. I see it all the time. I go into all kinds of different political groups, entertainment groups, all kinds of things like that. And they're all subcategorized into different sections. And even when they try to get into groups where everybody is of the same mind, they still fight. They still fight and argue. And that's why I say this what's going on here with this trans, everybody's against the trans people and shit like that. Yes, it is a distraction against what's really going to be problems that we need to focus on, which is our buying power as Americans, our government falling apart. We got fascism on the rise here. You know, these are the more important things. How people are living their lives, their private lives, is of no fucking concern to anybody. Okay? I'm sorry. But look, if we were all thrust onto the battlefield, would you care about the person next to you defending you if what they got between their legs is the same as what they think? Are you going to give a shit about that? I know my father didn't give a shit that, you know, the guys that were black around him and they were all fighting against the Vietnamese, the Viet Cong or whatever. They didn't care about that. They weren't thinking, oh, this guy's black. I don't want him sitting next to me with a gun. You know? People can push that shit aside over the right reasons. What's more important? Right now, we need to be focused on Trump and what he's doing. Dividing this country. We don't have the luxury anymore to sit here and fight amongst ourselves over little petty shit. You know, like homophobia and trans people and stuff. I don't care what that reverend in your fucking church has told you, okay? He's full of shit up to his ears. He's got an agenda. He's trying to divide you in helpful, in a way, to Trump. Keeping you distracted from what's going on. While that guy's taking your fucking money and making his mega church even bigger, okay, he's got you going home thinking of all the wrong things. He's not helping you at all. You people would be smart to just quit going to these fucking things and listen to these jackasses, okay? They don't know nothing. And, you know, it's sad that there are people who are not of, you know, associated with a religious cult who can go out there and live a much better life than the people that belong to these cults. You know, they live a more righteous life than they do. Okay, why is that? It's because they're not following a fucking lunatic leader. That's why. They're following their conscience. They know right from wrong. Common sense, okay? They're living their life as they see it. You're not going to get that, anyone telling you that from that church you're going to, okay? Because if you know what you're doing is right or wrong, you'll feel it. You'll know in your mind it's bad. You know, picking on somebody because they're trans or gay or something, they'll know that's not right. That's a human being, okay? Put yourself in their shoes for just 5 fucking minutes. Would you like it? Of course not. So why inflict that on a total fucking stranger, somebody you don't even know? That person there could be the smartest individual you ever meet, okay? That person might have a talent that you can't imagine, but you're gonna cover that and put a block in front of them so that way you don't have to look at them. Jeez, you know, you missing out on a lot of goddamn things in life. People are the most important things. You know, yeah, sure, we got a beautiful planet and all that, but there's also a lot of beautiful people out there too. People that know things, okay? People that can help you do stuff. People that can make you laugh, okay? Who the hell cares what they're doing in their private life? If it's not hurting anybody, that's not your fucking problem. Jesus Christ. I don't know any other way to explain that this to people, okay? It's very hard to break that block in people's brain, the bigot block. It's very hard to break that. You know, they grow up their whole life being told that it's okay to hate this group of people or that group of people. They do this all the time. Okay, and they start right when they're just little kids, right? It's easy to shape their minds when they're young to make them hate. Even when they get older, they don't know why they hate these people, but it's because their whole life they've been told it's okay, you know? And so to break that is trying to, make an old dog learn new tricks, I guess, to use, that as an example. And you can't argue with them. You can't fucking change them. All you can do is marginalize them. Keep them away from things that can, where they can abuse their power. Okay? Don't vote for them as leaders. All right? That's why character matters when you vote for people. That's why people should have really, when they looked at Trump, should have saw that, he's got a bad character. He's got a bad past. He's a felon. He's a criminal. He's all these things. Right there was enough to tell people this is not the guy you needed to vote for. Okay? But only the people like-minded with Trump believed in this cult that he created. Only those people supported him. Okay? Everybody else, it boggles the mind. It really does. It boggles the mind. Okay? And none of these people in MAGA couldn't even explain why they really thought he was the guy. They just thought he was the guy. Okay? Maybe because they didn't like Kamala, because she's a woman, she's black, or whatever. Okay? And I think that was probably a big part of it, because this country, again, like I was just saying about people trying to find something wrong with everybody, we have so much racism and bigotry in here that we don't challenge every day in ourselves, that we allow that to carry us through life, making one bad fucking decision after another. Okay? We're never going to know how good we would have had it under Kamala. We're never going to know. We certainly wouldn't be where we are now. A lot of these people here that have experienced being detained wouldn't have been detained. Okay? The things that we've lost already in just 7-8 weeks, okay? As far as Trump taking things apart in the country, our private information wouldn't have been breached by Elon Musk. Okay, a lot of people's data would have been secure. That stuff wouldn't have happened. All right. There would have been, the stock market certainly wouldn't be steadily falling every fucking day. Every time I wake up and I got my Alexa thing there, showing me the news of the day, every fucking day it's going down, 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 down. It just never comes up. Every day. That means the wealthy aren't really happy with Trump. So, like I said, we never will know how good we would have had it. You people thinking that it's good now, well, you're just deluding yourself. You're lying to yourself, because we all see the information, the data that's out there, and it's not, it's no picnic, and it's going to get worse. And sooner or later, you folks are going to fucking understand that, whether you want to admit it or not. You're going to feel that pinch, okay? And there's not going to be anything left for you to go to help you out. Those safety nets that you guys said, oh, that's just welfare for people, abusing. That ain't going to be there for you when you need it. Okay? So when you guys lose everything, you're going to lose everything. And there's not going to be anyone who's going to care. The government's not going to be able to help you because you supported a guy to rip it all apart. That's what I'm saying. Why wait? Why wait for that moment? Why put yourself into that position willingly? You feel like you deserve that? Do you feel like you deserve to punish yourself? What the hell did you do in your life that you hate yourself so bad that you would put a moron like that in the White House to destroy the country? What the fuck did you do? Why are you making everybody pay for your fucking mistake? It's not enough that you find out that you were wrong, okay? People can forgive you for being wrong about something, but what we can't forgive you for is making everybody else suffer your fucking mistake. All the kids out there, all the families, the parents, all these people, they're gonna pay for your fucking mistake. How do you apologize for that? Okay? You can't. There's some sins you can't be forgiven for. I'm sorry. But I think the biggest sin right now is for those people who supported Trump and put him back in the White House, a criminal. a felon, the scum of the earth, okay? And he surrounded himself with like-minded scum. Unforgivable, okay? You guys just took common sense and tossed it in the dumpster. But I'm still glad that, you know, maybe there are some people out there like this elderly man who had the balls to apologize for what he thought he knew, but found out he didn't know, because he never saw these people with a human face. He just saw the words trans this or trans that, and he got angry with it, but he never met anybody, okay, that was going through that. And when you confront a living person, okay, and you talk to that person, you're going to find yourself caving on what you thought you knew. And that's what I think a lot of you people are afraid of, is you don't want to be proven that you're wrong, okay? Arrogance. That's what that is. Fucking arrogance. Anyway, that's it for today. Today's Friday, so have a good weekend, everybody. Subscribe, comment, and share. Keep your ears open for any health issues out there, and believe me, they are legion right now. And help each other out. You know, the first step to trying to get rid of bigotry and racism and stuff like that is by interacting more with people. Stop living, you know, in your heads. Stop, you know, shutting the door to the world. Get out there, meet people, meet diversity, for Christ's sake. Take the fucking chance. You know, challenge your fucking beliefs. And listen to yourself when you're talking to these people. Just do that. My God, it's not going to kill you. All right, I'll talk to you guys later, so take care.